do you find the hospitals?
This hospital, they did not speak a lot of English. To be mentally prepared that she is not going to be there with you. Yeah.
So based on the services and the facilities,
There was laughing gas that was available, and this is something that was not available in other hospitals. Want a private room.
hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Experts Talk with Himansha. Today we are going to talk about a very special topic of motherhood. So to my lovely ladies, today we have our special guest Manali, who also owns a channel of Mama Space with Manali, and she's going to guide us about when you know that you're going to be mother soon, what all things you need to do being an expat in Germany, how to make your journey smooth and easier. We have our guest here who will be answering most of the questions which you have in general, how to register for a hospital, how to find a gynae, how the whole labor or your delivery experiences and so on. So stay tuned and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Hi Manali, welcome to our podcast.
Hi.
Would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. So, hi, I'm Manali, like Kulu Manali. I'm originally from India and I have been living in Germany since the past 6 years with my husband and my soon to be 11-month-old. And I have a YouTube channel with Mama Space with Manali, where I share baby-led weaning tips, parenting ups and downs, and my journey of being a first-time mother. It's my way of connecting to other parents and letting them know that they are not alone in this journey. So, yeah.
Yes, I think yes, this is a very interesting and good initiative because there are a lot of people like us who are new in Germany, and because of language barrier, they have a lot of questions and queries related to different aspects of this journey. So let's start. Maybe would you like to explain like how was your journey like started? So once you know that you are going to be mother soon, so how does it help? Like, do you already had a gynae, or you try to find when you know that you are going to be mother soon?
So here in Germany, they have a recommendation that women should go for a routine checkup every year. So I went to my house arts and I got a recommendation for a gynecologist. Fortunately, the gynecologist was very good. So I sticked with her. And when I got to know, I missed my period and I got to know that, okay, I might be pregnant. I went to her in like the 6th week. She told me that it's too early to say anything right now, but of course we know that you are pregnant, it's there, but they don't react much at 6 weeks. They say, okay, let's wait for some time and come back after around like 8 weeks or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then the gynecologist which you are in already touch with, do she supports in English? Because I think most of the people have this concern because if they do not understand this topic.
So my gynecologist specifically, she could understand English, but she didn't speak very good English. But the other gynecologists in the same clinic, they could speak English.
Okay.
But I stuck to mine because I really liked her. She was very warm and nice. So I didn't mind that. I could manage a little bit of German. So I never had a problem in the whole journey till then. But generally, doctors do speak in English. Like all the gynecologists, like the doctors, they all speak in English. So it should not be a problem.
It should not be a problem.
Yeah.
Because I think many of the girls are still scared, okay, how the things will work, because if they don't understand, and even if you can manage with little bit of German, but then going into the medical details of
Yeah.
the words, I think it's little difficult.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think, my house arts as well can speak in English. So until now, I have also never faced this issue. So it's
Yeah.
good to know. Then, so after like this, your first checkup with the doctor, and she asked you to visit again in 8 weeks, and then maybe like how this journey went on.
Okay, so I also want to speak about how it went on exactly. So for the first time when I got pregnant, I went to my gynecologist at like I think 5 weeks, and I got to know that I was pregnant. This was the first time that I was pregnant, and we had just started trying, and it happened like within the first time. And I went to the gynecologist. She told us that yeah, you're pregnant. We called up our friends, relatives, and told them, and at around 6, 7 weeks, I had a miscarriage. And I wanted to speak about it because it's not so much spoken about. And when I went to the gynecologist, she told me that this is such a common thing to happen and it's not your fault at all. And it is much more common that we actually know about. And I think people don't speak about it enough. It wasn't painful like physically. Of course, mentally you feel bad. Yeah, it's an emotional thing, but then I told myself it's fine, it's better that it ends sooner than to have complications later. And I think after that I had to wait for 3 months before like trying again. We tried again, and then I was pregnant once again. So, and after that everything went perfectly. So I went to the gynecologist again. This time I knew that things might be a little up and down. So I was like, let's not get happy really soon. Let's wait for some time before like telling other people. That's how I think they say in India as well, right?
Yes.
Like you shouldn't tell everyone. And yeah. So yeah.
But as you mentioned, like your first was a miscarriage, and then they asked you to wait for 3 months, and you like tried it again. So have they asked you to take any precautions or to be cautious about
No,
it?
not at all. That's what exactly. Nothing at all. They were like, this is absolutely normal. Just wait for 3 months so that in case your body hasn't recovered, for your hormones to normalize, and in case there is something remaining, it will be out. So 3 months is just normal. There were no precautions.
No medication.
No medications. She even told me that, you should continue your exercise as normal. You can go to the gym, you can go for jogging, running, whatever that you do normally. So you don't need to do anything special.
Anything special.
Yeah.
Okay. This is good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. So then back to our topic. So when you went to doctor on the first visit of 6 weeks being positive pregnant, and they ask you to come later at 8 weeks. So then how the journey goes on?
So then after that, I went at 8 weeks. They did a checkup, which is an internal checkup. And it was just normal. They give you like a Mutta pass, they call it here. It's like, if you translate it, it's like mother's passport. It's basically like a small booklet where they write in each visit, they write about your weight, about your blood pressure, about all the details in the pregnancy. And that's it. So, yeah. And I'm publicly insured.
Okay.
So they cover everything.
Everything. So do you feel that there is a difference like when you are publicly covered or privately covered?
Actually, no, because I also have a friend who's privately covered, and both our experiences were very similar. There wasn't much difference. Probably, maybe, I don't know, in appointments, waiting time or something, but because you're pregnant, they always give you a priority. So I don't think that was a problem for me at all.
Okay. So then how often you have to visit your gynecologist after like you have confirmed your pregnancy?
It depends. They'll give you the dates. It's approximately once in 4 weeks initially. And then when it's towards the end of pregnancy, they call you more often, depending upon your situation. But otherwise, it's once in 4 weeks.
Once in 4 weeks. Okay. And apart from this, like what all things you need to take care, alongside visiting to the gynecologist? Because at least what I know, that gynecologist is the person who will treat you or monitor your symptoms throughout the pregnancy, but she's not the doctor who is going to deliver your baby.
Yes.
Right? So you have to find a hospital. So maybe if you can elaborate this topic to help our audience know how to find those hospitals, how to manage this switch between the doctor, because whatever you were experiencing or sharing with someone, now at the end moment this person will not be there.
Yeah.
So, and how this gynecologist is communicating with the hospital where you are actually going to deliver?
Actually, I think everything is probably online because she just asks for all the she just asks for details of the hospital that's there, and then you don't have to do anything. What is more important is that you have to be mentally prepared that she is not going to be there with you. Although honestly, I don't think it was really a problem because you are already in this phase of in this mindset that, oh my god, I have to deliver the baby now and everything. So for me, what was important is that my husband was there with me. The midwives that, and even in the hospital, the midwives change for after every shift. So you cannot get comfortable with one midwife. There will be someone who's there for maybe like 2 hours. And then after 2 hours, there is another midwife that will come.
Okay.
So I think you need to be mentally prepared from the starting of the pregnancy that, that someone else is going to be there with you, but you need to know that you are in good hands. So it's not a problem.
Okay. So I think because she's managing everything online, so this is the only way they are communicating with the hospital. But how do you find the hospitals? Because I think doctors, as you mentioned, can still speak in English, but I think the ground staff, the nurses and the other people at reception might not speak in English.
Yeah.
Right? And then how you finalize, okay, this is the right hospital, or how is it different from India to here?
So from India to here, I think language is, of course, the biggest barrier. But in general, if we think about if I think about how did I select the hospital, so I had some experience with the hospital that I went for delivering. I had some experience in the same hospital before as well. So I shouldn't say it that way, but that hospital felt more like home because we had been there before for my husband's operation, and I was, used to the surroundings, and I was like, I feel like this is more of a home. Yes, this is a known place.
Yes.
But apart from that, English speaking is one of the concerns that was there. And in this hospital, they did not speak a lot of English. But what you can differentiate is on the basis of what services are available. For example, in the hospital that I delivered, there was laughing gas that was available for as a pain medication.
Okay.
And this is something that was not available in other hospitals. And I had heard from a colleague that it is a very effective way of pain management. And I tried it and it was actually very good. So this is something that I saw, okay, the other hospitals do not provide. And I knew that I wanted something like this.
Okay. So basically it's not a restriction that if you stay in Fuse, so you have to go to the Fuse hospital. You can go anywhere.
Yeah.
So based on the services and the facilities you need, based on that, you can opt for the one.
Yeah.
And whichever hospital you have opted, you can just let your gynecologist know about it.
Sure. So hospitals recommend that you should go to the hospital or register at the hospital not before 30th week of the pregnancy. So
Okay.
at 30 weeks, when you are at 30 weeks, this is when you can go to the hospital and you can fill out their registration form. Some hospitals also do it online. And yes, and this is when you need to fill out the form.
Okay. But then, as you already explained, that laughing gas was one of your preferences you wanted in the hospital, and that's how you landed there. But usually to compare hospital, how do you compare? Do you compare them online or with the mouth of word with your other friends, or you physically visited the hospitals to see how are the facilities or the ambience around?
So, of course, word of mouth is one thing, which is kind of the most important one. But apart from that, if you are new in Germany and you do not have a lot of friends, there is also this day of open day, they call it, where you can go to the hospital, you can speak to the staff, they tell you how they do the whole process, what do they provide you, and how is it all managed. Sometimes this is in English, sometimes it's in German. So this is what you can check it on their websites. So this is something which is really helpful.
Oh, this is really good to know.
Yeah.
This is an open day to hospitals and anyone can go and to take a feel, because they are going to be there for 3 to 4 days in pain. And definitely everyone wants to be in the safe hands, and also someone little more polite or caring. And when we are so far in foreign land, away from our parents.
Yes.
And I think this is also one important topic. So for your pregnancy, you guys were alone. So how difficult is it to manage alone?
Honestly, I feel it is much easier to manage before pregnancy than after, because after you have a little one to take care of. So before pregnancy, I think what really helped me was also because we were staying alone, I was very physically active. So I was doing, like, of course, with the help of my husband, but we were doing all the house related work ourselves, and I was going on walks and everything. So I think because of that, I stayed really fit. So I would say it's a good thing. And fortunately, in my pregnancy, it was quite smooth. I was feeling well most of the time. So that ways it was very
I
nice.
think you are a quite positive person because you say, okay, if there is no help, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I think, yes, this is also more of a mental, like I would say, a thing that if you have a dedication that, yes, I can do it, you can still manage.
100%. I think in
Yes.
pregnancy, your thinking works a lot. Like, it's very, very important to have a positive approach. When we were in our birth preparation class, our midwife told us this thing that, she met two types of moms. One said that, she asked one of the moms, how is your postpartum going? And she said, oh, the baby, he cries all the time. He wakes up after every 2 hours in night. It's just so difficult for me. And the same thing, the other mom said that, oh, it's going absolutely fine. Like any other baby, he wakes up every 2 hours. I feed him, he goes back to sleep. Everything is okay. So it is all about your approach and how you think about it, because the situation is the same. The situation doesn't change, but your thinking really
matters.
Yes, it does.
So this is a strong message to our all
Yes.
young mothers, that stay positive and be like dedicated. That
Yes.
you can do. I
Yes.
think you are the strongest one.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think, as you already mentioned, your midwife said something in the session.
In the birth preparation class.
Preparation session. So how these sessions are things?
So you need to book a birth preparation class in your last trimester.
Okay.
And this is, I would say, totally that you should go in with your partner. It's very helpful. They tell you about how your delivery is going to be, like how the journey will be, the stages of pain, how the baby comes. I mean, we all know how the baby comes, but like in the physical way, meaning like what are the stages of pain and how you can manage it. And I think it was really, really helpful. For example, they said that, breathing is the most important thing during delivery. And I think that is something that actually helped me a lot.
Okay.
So,
I think I also wanted to ask you basically more on the delivery experience. But before jumping into this topic, maybe just a little bit summarize our journey for our audience to know. So like you got to know about your pregnancy. Then in the 6th week or 8th week, you were with your gynecologist and she is maintaining your motor pass, managing all the details. And then you have to find on the 30th week of your pregnancy, the hospital registration. So after your hospital registration, is there any other like paperwork or documentation or like this muter class, what you said, these things to be done until the day of delivery?
So actually, I'll rewind a little bit, because what is really important is finding your midwife.
Okay.
Because here in Germany, you will find out that finding a midwife is the most difficult task, and especially if you don't speak German, because you need to find someone who speaks English. So it was, I think, around almost my 4th month, I already started calling up the midwives if someone is available. So midwives are usually there to support you after your delivery and a little bit before as well.
Okay.
And so it was already the 4th month and I started calling. I made around 30 calls, and maybe 2 of them were available. So you can imagine that how, like, as soon as maybe at 3rd month or something,
Okay.
you should start calling and like trying to book a midwife.
Finding a midwife is even a job before finding a hospital.
Yes. And I mean, of course, it's not in your hand, but I was about to deliver on 23rd of July. Like, that was the date. And in Germany, that's the time for summer vacations. So from end of July and whole August. So maybe this is like the worst time to be pregnant, because all the midwives were on leaves. They were like, oh, it's summer vacation, we are on leave. and that's why it was very, very difficult to find one. So if you can plan, do not plan in August. Plan somewhere, maybe September or like June, anytime around. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good tip, I would say.
Yes. I mean, of course, you cannot plan it, but if you can, if you think about it. Yes. And apart from that, my gynecologist was also very, very supportive. She was very positive. I asked her if I could travel during pregnancy because, for example, in India, they generally,
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if the doctors say that, but a lot of people will tell you do not travel at all. It's not so good. In the first trimester, definitely not. I traveled in the first trimester. I traveled in my second trimester twice. I went to Iceland. I went to Tenerife. I went to so many places and everything was perfectly fine. If you are feeling well, like, of course, if you are, if you're feeling nauseous, if you're having if you're having nausea, then it doesn't make sense because, you wouldn't enjoy your
I think
vacation.
it will depend on like body to body or woman
Yes,
to woman. If
absolutely.
you feel comfortable,
Then you
like,
should.
No restriction that you have to stay at home, just enjoy.
Yeah, so it would be a message to all the moms that if your doctor says yes, of course, doctor has to say yes. So if your doctor says it's okay, if you are feeling well, then it's fine. You have to be happy and that's the most important thing. Like, I feel that is the most important thing in the whole pregnancy journey as well.
So now we have to observe your baby that after growing up, does he love traveling? Because you
He
travel
already
a lot.
does. He already does. Like, he actually enjoys being outside a lot. So, yeah, I think that's a good thing because me and my husband like it. So, very important.
Very important. Okay, then maybe going towards the more experience of delivery. So once now the day has arrived or you are with the hospital.
It's actually not the day has arrived. I think it's the last trimester when you
Okay.
start to see that you have such a huge tummy and there is this, baby inside and you have to take it out. I think when you think about it, it's so scary that, oh my God, he's going to come out and how is it going to be? It's going to be so painful, especially as a first time mom. Yeah, because there were times when I used to get up in the morning and I used to be like, oh no, he's going to come out. It's going to be so painful. And I used to like literally cry and I'm not joking. I used to like cry with tears that, oh my God, how painful is it going to be? You've seen all these videos about people screaming and everything. So,
And
yeah.
that's the reason you opted for laughing gas.
No, but I opted it much later actually. I opted it after the delivery was done.
Okay.
It was not even before. It was after it was done for the stitches. But yes, I was very scared. And honestly, it's good that I was scared because when that happened, I was like, oh, it's not so scary. It's okay. I mean, I'm not undermining anyone's delivery process, but for me, like the amount that I was scared as compared to that, it was okay. It was not that bad. So coming back to how it started, my due date was 23rd of July. And my mom was supposed to come on 7th of July. And we thought that it's enough time. It's 23rd and she's coming on 7th. It should not be a problem. And on 5th morning, in fact, 4th, we went out with friends for a pizza party and we had good dinner. I went for shopping. And then in the morning on 5th, I started having contractions. You have this app where you can time your contractions and you can like track everything actually. So I tracked my contractions and I was like, this is around, 2 minutes apart. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a false alarm. But because, I'm having these contractions kind of thing, I need to, call the hospital and talk to them. Also, if you are having contractions, you can directly call the hospital and just go there. You don't need to call your gynecologist for that.
Okay.
So, I was like, okay, it's happening
So when
after.
you say call them, so when you call, someone comes to you, or is it just you inform them that you have contractions, so you are visiting them soon?
Yes, so I called them. I was like, my due date is 23rd, but I'm having contractions. Like, I feel I'm like having a little bit of pain and you're not even sure for the first time. Are these contractions or what are these? Because initially when they started, they were not so painful. Like, I had painful periods. So I was like, it doesn't seem that painful yet. So I called them. They're like, if you feel like coming, you can just come by. If you want to wait, you can wait a little bit. But if you feel like coming, you can just come. I hadn't even prepared my hospital bag till that time. I was so confident. Oh, we have so much of time. I was just procrastinating. And so I told my husband, I woke him up. It was 5:30 in the morning. I woke him up. I was like, I think I'm having contractions. Let's just pack the hospital bag. So we started packing at that time. I took a shower. I was like, okay, let me just also eat my breakfast. So I ate my breakfast. I took a shower. We packed the hospital bag. And we thought that, okay, it's just a false alarm. We were so sure that we are going to come back that we actually put clothes in the washing machine, thinking when we come back from the hospital, we're going to dry them and everything. Like, okay, it's just normal. It's just, we are just going there for the sake of it. We even have this picture we took on InstaX, which we thought we would name First Attempt. Because we would come back and, this is the first attempt and the second attempt and stuff. We went to the hospital. She checked for my dilation and she told me, you are 3 centimeters dilated. Das Baby kommt heute, which is the baby is coming today.
Oh my
And
God.
I freaked out. I was like, no, that's not possible. The baby can't come today.
So your first is the actual.
Yes, I was like, my mom is not here. It's not happening. No. And I started crying. I called up my mom. I was like, how am I going to do this alone? You're not here. And it was very scary because it's, if just someone tells
I
you,
have tears in my eyes.
yes, well, I was scared and yeah, very, very scared.
Okay, and then?
So she's
Because
like,
I think, as you mentioned, you were not in so much pain, and doctor said it is coming.
yeah.
So then,
So we reached hospital at 10:30. Still not so much pain. We had to wait. She told me fill up the forms. One thing that I would like to, so we wanted a private room. So for a private room, as soon as you go to the hospital, you need to tell them that you want a private room. Like in the form, you can fill it up or you tell them. And I would suggest if you want a private room, as soon as you reach the hospital and they tell you that the baby is coming today, you tell them that I want a private room, because private room is on availability basis. If someone else comes before you, you will not get it then. So it also depends on the day. If there are many babies coming that day, you will also not get a private room. So you need to tell them as soon as you reach the hospital. Do not wait till after the
private room
delivery.
is covered in your public insurance.
No,
You
no.
have to pay something.
Yes.
additional.
We paid, I think, around 250 euros extra for it.
Okay.
But I think it was totally worth it because they do not really help you with, I don't know, like changing the diapers each time and, everything. So my husband was there with me all the time. He changed the diapers of the baby. He was there with me throughout the night and everything. So I think it's totally worth it.
Totally worth it. And
Yeah.
you are not alone with someone unknown in the room.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So yes, then they gave me a room. They said, okay, you are just 3 centimeters now. We still need to wait. And they gave me a room.
Okay. Did they told you like how long you need to wait?
No, nothing. It's totally your luck how much you have to wait. They just gave me a hospital room and they're like, okay, you can wait here and you can see when it's very painful, then call us. So they also gave me some lunch and yeah, the typical German lunch. And then after that, at around 12 o'clock or something, I was like, okay, now I'm having some pain. Can we shift to the room?
So when you said this typical lunch, and then do they allow you to take your own food?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
But we didn't know that it's going to happen. So we didn't take any food or anything like that.
Okay.
Plus, it's just one meal. I cannot imagine anyone actually eating like a proper 3-course meal during contractions is very difficult. So yeah, I had a little bit of lunch. I think it was pasta and soup.
Okay.
And then after that, I told them that, okay, I'm having stronger contractions. Then they moved me to this room. It's called like birth preparation room.
Okay.
And over there, I asked them for a bathtub room because I heard that, inside the water, you feel lesser pain. And I used to go swimming before the delivery. So even in my 8th month, I used to go for swimming. And over there, I realized that, yes, you definitely feel a little bit lighter and you feel lesser pain in the water.
Okay.
So I asked them for a room with a bathtub. And
which means the delivery is going to happen in bathtub.
no.
Okay.
It's just for pain management. The delivery was normal, but obviously you can opt for it. It's up to you. So in Germany, they even ask you, like, they give you options. What kind of delivery do you want? Do you want it at home? Do you want it at a birthing center? Do you want it in the hospital? It's up to you to decide. Yeah. You can even opt for home and then, I don't know, deliver in your bathtub. But I didn't want to deliver in the bathtub, but just for pain management.
Okay.
So they gave me a room, a separate room. There was no one else. It was just me and my husband. And then I was there throughout the whole contractions till the time I was not 10 centimeter dilated. I was in that room. So at 2:30, so this was at 12. And then at 2:30, the contractions were more intense. And I asked them, like, what pain management option do you have? So they told me that, you can, like, take a normal painkiller. Then you can, like, initially you can start with a normal painkiller. Then you can obviously go for epidural. You can go for laughing gas and whatever you want.
Okay. So all these are the substitute for pain management.
Yes, they're all pain management. And also this is one thing that on the basis of which you can decide the hospital based on what pain management options do they have. Generally, all the hospitals do have this epidural option as well.
Okay.
So yeah, there is a huge form that you need to sign before they give you an epidural, because it has a lot of, for example, they say it has a lot of side effects. For example, back related side effects, like, you can have back pain for a prolonged period of time. And if you read those documents, it's actually quite scary, but at that time you're having so much pain that you might still opt for it. So when I was having a lot of pain, midwives were very supportive. They were coming and they were telling me, you are doing a wonderful job. Don't worry, just breathe in, take deep breaths. You're doing wonderful. You're doing great. And
I think this is much needed at that time.
Yes.
I can imagine.
Yes.
The stress or the pain you are in.
Yeah, definitely. It's very, very helpful. You definitely need someone and telling you that, oh, you're doing wonderful. Don't worry. It's very nice. And I asked them at a point, like, should I opt for epidural? And one of the midwives said, do you really want it? Because right now you seem okay. And I think you can do it without it. So I would say she kind of motivated me. And of course, I was also scared to sign that paper, like, yeah, I'm okay with whatever happens. And honestly, I didn't need it. It was around 6 o'clock. She told me, yeah, you are doing great. You are 9 centimeters dilated now. So, and also, if you want to take an epidural, there is a limit. You cannot take it at 8.5, 9 centimeters because it takes around 20 minutes to actually come into effect. And then if you take an epidural, it doesn't make sense because by the time it has the effect, you might as well be dilated. So you need to take it. You need to have this call at around 6 centimeters dilation. That you need to take a call
so
when...
basically you need to prepare your mind before, like if you want to go for this epidural during your delivery or not.
Yeah.
Because runtime you cannot like just decide.
You can actually, when you have that pain, you can decide. Generally people have...
Is it also possible like if you have decided and on day you say, okay, I don't want it?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Also people like have this birth plan written, like they write how do they want to birth, like, at home or at the hospital, and what pain management do they want, what are the options and stuff like that. So I did not have a birth plan. My only plan was not to die and have minimal pain. So then fortunately I did not need the epidural, and I was already 10 centimeters dilated by 7 o'clock. So they told me, oh, wonderful, you're already 10. Let's go to the labor room.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm sorry, I
No
don't
problem.
have this experience, but I just missed it because you said you were in a hospital room, then you were taken to a room with bathtub.
Yes.
And then you said, okay,
So I was in the water.
Okay, until 10 you are still in the water, is it?
No. So, okay, let me rewind a little bit maybe. So at 12:31, I went to this room where there was a bathtub.
Okay.
Then I was in this room till around 7 o'clock. So almost 6 hours I was in the same room. Initially when I think maybe at around 5
So this is a room with bathtub, but
Yes.
need not to be in the bathtub. It's
Yes.
up to you. Like when it's more pain, you can go. And is it like a hot water bath or something?
Yes, yes. So,
Okay.
so the midwife came. She filled it up with hot water, some soap as well, with foam and everything, to
Okay.
distract you. And it's basically like a room. It's not a bathroom. It's a room which has a bathtub. It just beside the bathtub there is a bed as well, and there is a separate toilet altogether.
Okay.
Yeah. So the bathtub is just
It's
open.
more like a spa.
Yeah, it's more like a spa, but with a lot of pain for meant for pain. Yeah, so then I was in the water for some time, not at 8 centimeters or 7 centimeter dilation. That was too painful even to be there in the
also
bathtub.
the duration, that how long you can be in water.
No, it's up to you. They just leave you in the room and they ask you, if you want us, just press the bell, because they know that you need your own space, you need your own time. So they only come in middle to check if you're okay, if you're doing okay, if you need anything. But there is no restriction on you. It's totally up to you. What do you want at that time? Yeah. So I was in the bathtub for some time. They give you clothes to change as well. So I was in the bathtub for some time. Then I came out. Then I was at around, I think from 7 centimeters or so, I took a painkiller. I don't know if it was really useful, if it was not, but I did not need an epidural, so maybe it was useful. I don't know. And then after around 6-7 centimeters till 10, I was just on the bed and just trying to, and there was a ball, so I could sit on the ball, bounce a little bit. So these are all different positions that they tell you in the birth preparation class.
Okay.
They even tell the husbands like where you should massage. You can massage on the back so that the woman feels better.
Okay.
Yeah.
To calm you.
Yeah, to calm me down. And also they tell you in the birth preparation class, they tell the husbands that do not take it personally. The wives are going to scream at you. They're going to say it's all your fault, but do not take it personally because it's so difficult for them at that time.
But I think this is a really good thing that here, like fathers also have a preparation session.
Yes.
And I don't remember anything like this I have heard ever in India. Maybe now it's happening, I'm not aware. But at least when we were children and we were seeing our like neighbors or relatives, this was not there, and it's all about ladies. And this is what I find it like really interesting, where parents or fathers especially shares the equal responsibility, not only once the baby is born, but also during the pregnancy as well as in delivery. And I'm curious to know, is it also like your husband also plays as a role of one nurse during the delivery?
Yes. And coming to the whole delivery section, literally he played the nurse because when we were there in the labor room, the midwife had one of my feet was on her shoulder and my other feet was on my husband's shoulder. So like literally he was there as a nurse and he witnessed the whole birth process. I thought he would faint, but he didn't, which is a great thing. Yeah.
One of my friends and his husband fainted in the room.
Exactly.
He was scolded by a doctor a lot that whether he should take care of your wife or not.
Yeah, and I think that it's important because husbands should know what wives go through for delivering the baby. It just increased because after the delivery, my husband was like, I'm so proud of you. It's just magical. It's a miracle. And like, they value the whole process much more. So I feel it is important. It's a very good thing. Of course, if the woman is also
Because yes, if they can feel the pain, they can share the pain.
Yes. I mean, share? No, I don't think they can share the pain, but at least
share more emotionally, because then they,
probably,
as you said, he was there to massage things. He was there in the delivery, and since he know the process, he will definitely be taking care of you more.
Although I was like, no, don't touch me. I just want to be like quiet and sit like this. I was like, no, don't massage me. Don't touch me. I just want to sit here quietly. So, but at least he was there as a support, as an emotional support. Okay. And I think that is very, very important. The whole emotional support. Initially, I thought my mother, it would have been great if my mother is there, but I think it was still very good that my husband was there to support me because he is going to be there throughout, Correct. So it is very important that he is there in that journey above anyone else. Okay. So that is very, very important.
Okay. And then how long was this process? Like once you said, okay, now you are ready for delivery and you went to the labor room, then the whole process until the baby came out, it takes
like 20 minutes. You are 10 centimeters dilated and you push, and the baby is out.
okay.
Yeah.
And in 20 minutes, they just change you from labor room to the
No,
normal.
no. So the 20
Okay.
minutes was just to push the baby out.
Okay.
Also, there is this thing over here that they make the husband cut the umbilical cord. It's
Yes.
a way of saying that the fathers share equal responsibility. So they literally, it's the fresh umbilical cord and they make the fathers cut that, like with the scissors.
Yeah.
So yeah, as soon as the baby was out, over here they give the baby skin to skin because it is said to enhance the whole milk production process and the hormones. So it's good for the mother and of course the baby. So they give the baby skin to skin immediately.
Okay.
And after that, this whole delivery,
And,
there was,
I mean, sorry to ask, but is it like skin to skin immediately means the baby with whole blood?
yes,
No?
with the whole blood, even with the umbilical cord.
Ah,
He was
okay.
just like out and up. So I would say do not take your clothes. You don't need them. The hospital provides you clothes. They're going to be all bloody. So
Yes,
you don't
yes.
really need the clothes.
And how was that feeling?
You are so high on hormones, you cannot feel anything at that time. Of course, you are overwhelmed. Like I remember I was like, oh my God, he's there. But I couldn't really, think much because you're told like, okay, after the delivery comes the second delivery, which is removing the placenta. So I was like, okay, now I need to do the next thing. It's again pushing and removing removing the placenta.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I think the process is quite painful.
Yes.
I can feel it.
I thought it to be even more painful. But then I think this is not where I took the laughing gas. After that, there were stitches. So they told me that you have a second degree tear and they need to stitch. And that whole process was around 45 minutes.
Okay. And same in the labor room.
Yes, in the labor room, there were doctors who were doing the whole stitches and everything. And they asked me, like, do you still have pain? And I said, yes, this is still painful. I have the baby out. Why do I still have pain? I don't want any more pain. This is when I remembered that my colleague told me that, why don't you should try the laughing gas. So I asked them that, can I try the laughing gas? And my God, it was very good.
Okay.
You just close your eyes and you feel like I don't know, I felt like I was underwater and I'm not there. It's not like you're gonna laugh.
Yes.
You would expect laughing gas means you will start laughing. You don't laugh. You are just holding, it's like a mask and you are holding the mask on your face.
Okay. It's just to relax your mind and muscles so that you
don't feel anything.
the pain.
Not minimize, it's not there. You don't feel anything.
Okay.
I couldn't feel anything. Like if
of anesthesia?
yes.
Okay.
And the best part about it is that they do not need to put anything in your body. You are just smelling it, and as soon as you stop inhaling the laughing gas, it starts to wear off. So it starts to reduce, and then it's gone. So that's why I think it was very nice because
and also you do not have any side effects.
yes, exactly. So it does not have any side effects, nothing. And trust me, you don't laugh, but but you just feel like this is how one of my friends define it. You feel like you are high on marijuana. So I don't know. So yeah, that's how it was. And then after that, after these 45 minutes, they shifted me to the other floor, which was the other room, the normal room that was there. Yeah.
Okay. And in this normal room, your husband was definitely there, as you said.
Yeah.
Are visitors allowed there?
Yes, but certain timings. I think it's around till 6, from 11 to 6 or some timings. I think it varies from hospital to hospital. Yeah.
So I would say thanks a lot, Manali, for going in, so much detail and sharing your experience, because I think many people are not so much vocal about it, and there are people who wants to know the real experience, how is it? And I think this is definitely going to help a lot of young mothers, and they will get some insights that how the process is, how the pain will be, or how this whole beautiful journey going to be with some pain. So I think for this one, we will stop here, but I think I have a lot of questions, and as my audience might also have on the postpartum details and all. So probably we'll try to capture them again with you. So maybe before closing, would you like to tell something around it?
Yes, sure. I think postpartum or the fourth trimester, as they say, is the least talked about and is the most important one, because as soon as the baby is out, everyone starts to focus on the baby. And this is the time where the mother needs the equal amount of attention. I don't know if it's equal, but yeah, you still need a lot of attention. It's, her hormones are totally off the place. And I think in India, it's very easy because you have so many people there to take care of. Here, it might be a little difficult. Yeah, so I think it's a totally different game altogether. And it needs a whole separate episode for sure. Yes.
Okay. I think yes. So, in today's episode, we have covered our details when you are a mother, when you are pregnant, what all things you need to take care, how to finalize the hospital, how's the whole delivery process. But I know you still have more questions. So stay tuned. We are going to cover postpartum, when the baby is breastfeeding, how the things go with mother, and when the baby moves up to solid and things like that. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.